What if the only thing holding you back is the fear of being judged? Today's guest has spent years helping people break free from that fear and step into a life of true alignment and purpose. Robin Clare is the author of Harmony, the Frequency of True Success, where she shares a powerful framework built on awareness, commitment, and self leadership, all rooted in her own journey of overcoming struggle, shame, and self judgment. Her message is simple but powerful. Real success isn't just about what you achieve on the outside, it's about who you become on the inside. If you ever felt stuck, held back, or afraid to fully show up as yourself, this conversation is for you. Please join me in welcoming Robin Clare. Let's get into it. Hello, Robin, and thank you for joining the Influence Exchange. I'm happy that you're here with us today. How are you?
I'm great, JV. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. It's beautiful outside. It's
Mm.
finally getting warmer here in the East Coast, and it's great. I'm happy. How are things with you coming along?
Yeah, good. Me too. It is funny too. Today I was driving to work and I'm like, okay, like I think I still have PTSD from winter. This
Sure.
was an incredibly cold winter. Like at
Absolutely.
times when I was walking the dog, it was like negative 26. And then I'm thinking, wow, it's April. Like we have way until the beginning of next year before we're freezing again. So I was
Absolutely.
just I remembered that it was April and I was like, yes, it's just the beginning of beautiful weather.
Right, right. And next week, I think is going back down
Mhm.
to the 50s. Anyways. All
Okay, I'll
right,
take
Robin.
that.
Exactly.
Excuse
Exactly.
me. Mhm.
So let's dive in. I would love to talk about your harmony and the
Mhm.
frequency of true success. How did that come to life?
Yes. So it's interesting too because, and I'm sharing this with the audience because I'm sort of, I've been looking at my marketing and thinking, what is it right? Is my marketing right around this? And are people really like, can they say in marketing, people should be able to like, honor, and trust you? And I'm thinking, am I telling enough about myself? And one of the things that you and I have in common, which we discovered when we met the last time, is that we both have this somewhat of a fear of judgment. And
Absolutely.
so for me, this fear of judgment, and I can talk about my experience in my along my journey, has um, stopped me from almost 100% being committed to my work. And so I find I'm working on where am I stopping? Where's the commitment stop
Right.
for me? And what am I afraid of? And so I haven't had a normal life, being in a mom and corporate America and all of that. But hidden in the back was a 40-year addiction to obsessive eating and bulimia.
Sure.
And so I came to discover that throughout my life, I have had a tremendous experience with judgment and shame. And even when I took a piece of paper and I wrote them all down, I was like, yes, that's judgment.
Yeah.
Yes, that's judgment. And so even bulimia is a form of self-judgment, right? You're punishing yourself for overeating.
Right.
And so once I decided that I need to really come into recovery, that journey was twofold. I did, the traditional psychotherapy journey, but I also went on the spiritual journey. And what I discovered in all of that, I started writing books about my spiritual journey and the things that I was learning. And there's sort of a progression, the five books, until this book, Harmony, which is my latest book, Harmony, the Frequency of True Success. And I realize that the harmony method, which maybe we'll dive into a little bit more, but
Absolutely.
it's six elements. It's when you have awareness in your life, and my awareness was that if I didn't stop doing bulimia, I probably was going to die from it
Mm,
because I started bleeding from my face and I could feel like my head exploding and I'm like, I'm gonna do something here. And so awareness that you have to change. And then the second one is commitment. How committed are you? How devoted are you to the change that you're trying to make in your life? And then mastery is learning what you need to understand in order to make that change stick. So the mastery is the embodiment of the teachings. The service is, what am I going to do with this information? For me, it was writing books about it. And then leadership is the fifth one, and that's about self leadership.
sure.
Am I walking the walk of recovery? When someone looks at me, do they think, "Oh, she's exemplifying someone who's in recovery." So that to me, once I can once I can honor my own self leadership, then I could be a leader to others. But you
Sure.
can't really be an effective leader if you're not in self leadership. You think you can, but you really can't.
Yeah.
And then the last one is freedom, and that's the
Mm,
alignment of all the work you've done on the inner world, and you're able to express that in
sure.
your outer world through living up your purpose, or and even if it's not your purpose, it's just what you see is what you get. Like who you are on the inner world is who everybody sees on the outer world. And that's the freedom. And then that's where success comes in because you're living without angst
Yeah.
in your life. And that whole frequency of all of those working together is living in a state of harmony. And I didn't realize that when I first discovered those six elements, I thought it was the secret to a successful spiritual
Sure.
life. But in my mind, I kept saying, I think this is the secret to success in anything:
Absolutely.
awareness, commitment, mastery, service, leadership, and freedom. And it turns out it is. And so that's why I'm on this podcast journey, because I think that people, if they follow it, even in looking for a new job, in their relationships, in finishing an art project that they
Sure.
want to do, finishing household improvements, their medical journey, right? Like you have to be committed to that and you have to do all the things, right?
Right.
And all of that. So everything in life, I think I can say that ultimately we all want to live in harmony. We want to be peaceful on the inside and peaceful on the outside. And in today's environment, with our political environment and all the things that are going on, I think harmony is more important than
Mhm.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Robin. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Robin, how can someone practice the six elements?
Yeah. I think it's really learning them and then deciding what's important to you.
Sure.
Right? Like what do you want to do? And how do you want to accomplish? And recognizing that you may be in disharmony,
Okay.
right? First and foremost, is your inner world connected to your outer world? And someone's saying, "What? That's so woo-woo," or
Mhm.
whatever. But it's really not. It's really not. Like, are you able to be proud of the person you are on the inside and then project that on the outside? And
Sure.
if there's a disconnect there, if there's a disconnection between inner world and outer world, then you are not in harmony and you're in disharmony. Now, you could say to me, and in a weird example, I don't
Sure.
know even know why I'm bringing it up. That is a nasty person on the inside and a nasty person on the outside.
Yeah.
And maybe one could say, well, they're in harmony,
Yeah.
right? Because they're
That's
nasty
true.
both
Yeah.
ways,
Right.
right? Right? They've decided that this is who they're going to be on the inside, and they're going to let everybody know it on
Right.
the outside. Now, you could be the nicest person on the outside, but eating your guts out on the inside,
Sure.
right? Or you could be fine on the inside, but you don't know how to live your life on the outside world that's in alignment with that beautiful, your own beautiful inner nature. And
Yeah.
so what I'm hoping to do through the harmony movement is to have people be able to find and have the tools that they need so that who they want to be internally aligns with who they get to be externally. And it doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want, or, sometimes you have jobs that, uh, sometimes you have jobs that, um, it's not about your purpose, it's about making a living, but you really want to do that with the best possible attitude that you can, or else you're just going to be miserable,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Robin, you mentioned earlier about judgment, and you and I
Mhm.
are aligned, absolutely.
Yes.
And for the audience, I've said this numerous of times on my podcast. It took me 3 years to, excuse me, 3 years to create the influence exchange. And the reason why it took so long because I was afraid, deep inside afraid of being judged. What will people think of me just creating content and why? And that took so long. And to this day, I'm confused on why it took so long. I should have easily said three
Yes.
years ago, who cares? Let me just do what I had to do. And I
Yeah.
finally have,
But we,
I'm happy.
yeah.
Yeah, 3 years later, I'm happy that I'm starting my podcast, but why not 3 years ago? And that's still in my mind to this day.
Yeah, because judgment is, first of all, we are judged all the time, even as babies and children, right? And we have siblings that judge us, and then we have teachers that judge us, and then we have relationships that judge us, and then we have bosses that judge
Yeah,
us. Like, there's no way that you can get through life without being judged.
right.
The question is, how are you going to let it affect you?
Hmm.
And I think I shared previously that what enabled me to move through this fear of judgment was that I realized that no one can judge me unless I give them the title of judge.
Sure.
Otherwise, they're just giving me their opinion. And
Right.
how I react to it is, I guess it depends on who's saying it. Sometimes I can be like, "Okay, well, thank you for your opinion." Other times I'm not as nice as that.
Sure. Yeah.
Depends
Yeah.
on who's saying it, right?
Right.
But
Right.
if I don't give them the title of judge, it can't be judgment. And one of the things I learned, I read a wonderful book that really helped me with this. It was called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And the book said that we all have a state of brilliance, and that's what we know we're good at, right? We know we're good at it. So no matter what anybody says, we know we're good at it.
Sure.
But our soul is here, embodied in our body, to live our genius. And our
Hmm.
genius is what did our soul intend for this lifetime? What How are we truly supposed to serve and lead, right? What is
Sure.
our mastery that we're supposed to have? And in between our brilliance and our genius is this level of self-doubt, and this level of, it's like a protection level of our
Sure.
soul's genius. And for me, it was judgment, because
Hmm.
once I moved through that, then I was able to stand in the power of my teachings. And what I shared earlier with your audience, I'm really looking at that because there's a certain piece left. Now, life is a spiral. You have to look at it like a spiral.
Right.
So, somewhere at the beginning of the spiral, you could have worked on judgment. I could have worked on judgment. And then we're like, okay, I got that. And
Hmm.
then the spiral goes around again. And maybe on the second inner turn, you're like, uh-oh,
Right.
judgment. Oh my God, I feel like crap. Right. And
Yeah.
so we're
Yeah.
constantly, doing the work so that we can um, understand that judgment is going to show up again. But the difference between the first time it comes up and the fourth time it comes up is that every time we look at it, we put out the emotional charge
Sure.
associated with it. And more, it's like we're blowing out a candle of emotion. And so the more we look at it, the more we can say, okay, well, there it is. It's not going away. Bad memories don't go away. Things that happen to us don't go away, but it's how we feel about them that determines how much impact they're going to have on us as life goes on. And so for
Absolutely.
me now, judgment, I have way different ways of looking at judgment because I also want to know, why is someone judging me? Is there something that I need to do differently that is changing them? And yet there's also that expression that what you think about me is none of my business.
Sure.
It's a powerful expression. I can't
Right.
control what you think of me. So why do I make it my business to understand why you think a certain way about me, unless it's someone really important to you? And
Absolutely.
maybe you're saying, really respect that person. And if they're saying that about me, more than likely it's about them, right?
Sure.
But what if it is about me? And is this something that I want to think about and change? But most of the time, when people are in your face, it's about them,
Yeah.
not you.
Right. To make
Right. So
themselves
that's
feel better.
yeah, and that's part of, not judging. So, one of the things we did in preparation for this is we did an Akashic Harmony message, which is my tool to help people move forward in their life. And one of the things that I loved is in the report where it said sometimes the anticipation of judgment can carry more weight than the judgment itself.
Mm.
And the awareness of that, the awareness of the anticipation was like, it's almost like we know awareness, like awareness, we want to be in awareness and we want to move forward, and it's this wonderful thing. But the awareness of the anticipation could be a really good growth tool for someone, right? Like you're expecting it, because why
Absolutely.
are you expecting it? Because it's been happening your whole life. Judgment and shame, it's just one of those things that no one gets through life without. And it's just, we have an awareness of it, right? We have an awareness that it's something that we have um to not overly respond to. But I
Sure.
loved in your report where it called it the anticipation of it, because
Mm.
that can really knock you off the journey, right? Because you're
Yeah.
waiting for it. And so I was hoping you saw that in there, that we can't be waiting for judgment, but when it
Mhm.
comes, we can look at it through a mature lens.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And for the audience that's watching on YouTube, I have the report right in my hands. And if you're
Yes.
listening, please tune into YouTube to
Yes.
see. Here's the
So I
report.
want to talk about what it is. So one of the tools that I developed is something called the Akashic Harmony message, and it's a report. And you can go onto my website and ask a question, and then a report comes out. It takes me a couple of days to produce a report, but I want to talk about the elements of it. So it's
Absolutely.
called the Akashic Harmony message. So we talked a lot about harmony and we're looking at the elements, but what is the Akashic part? I think
Mm.
that's interesting for people. So the Akashic records, I am an Akashic record reader. I was guided to study that. It's actually a calling to the records. And the records are the information that are of our souls, of our lifetimes, from past, present, and even future lifetimes.
Sure.
And so it's information that's sitting what they call the Akashic field. So if you're familiar with the chakras, we have 7 chakras, the energetic systems within our field of energy.
Sure.
um, and all of this is based on the idea that we are a soul being having a human being experience.
Right.
If you don't believe that, then what I'm saying is going to not even resonate at all. And so we have this, so we have our soul's energy, our energetic field around us and through us. And there are 7 centers throughout the body, all the way up to the top of the head. And so we have the first grounded chakra all the way to the 7th, which is our connection to the divine realm. But our 8th chakra that people don't talk about, which is 18 inches above the head, is the Akashic field. And so
Mm.
it's like when we pass away, and our soul leaves the body, it stops at the Akashic, at the library. They call it the library, the
Okay. Yeah.
Akashic records, and it deposits all the things that happened in this lifetime. And then when we're going to reincarnate into our body, we stop in the records and say, what is it that we really want to learn? And
Mm.
who do we want to bring in with us? Who from our soul family? So for example, I would always tease my mom because she was like my nemesis
Yeah.
around body image, and she would just say stuff to me that just would, like, I'd be like, "Mike, can't talk to me like that. I have I have a disorder." And she'd
Sure.
be like, "Well, whatever." And finally, like, we had to agree to disagree, that we would never talk about it.
Hmm.
And then finally, I had to come into the understanding that this is she agreed to come here with me and drive me nuts on the soul level so that
Yeah.
I could learn about healing from my addiction, come into recovery, write these 5 books, develop the harmony method, and come on JV's show. That's
Yes.
why she came into this lifetime,
Right.
right?
I love it.
and and then so I had to have radical acceptance of my mom, that she's just doing the job that I asked her to do, because we, in my teachings that I've learned, we choose our parents before we get here. They don't just make us,
Yeah. Yeah.
we choose them because they're the most influential beings that will influence our soul's journey in this lifetime. And so my mom just had a doozy of a job
Mhm.
because I really needed to come into long term recovery so that I could move beyond my fear of judgment and be a speaker and a
Sure.
writer. Sure. And teach people and make an impact on large audiences.
Sure.
And who would have thought that, right? This little girl that my mom kept putting on a diet at 6 years old, right? Did my mom have any idea that it would lead to this?
Right. Right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
But she was just doing her job. So if you're struggling, to your audience with a parent that drives you crazy, know that this is all part of the plan
Yes.
for you to recognize what your soul's journey is here. Mine is to be a public speaker, and mine is to make people have a better life through this. And if you have a fear of judgment, you can't manage a podcast and you can't be a public speaker. And so that's why I said we have so much in common,
Right.
because we have a bigger things that we want to accomplish, bigger things that we want to do, and we have to just put judgment in its proper perspective.
Absolutely. That,
Hmm.
that's great. Robin, how can families, workspaces, or even communities benefit from learning to live in harmony?
Yeah, I think it all starts with leadership.
Sure.
I've been doing some posting on LinkedIn, right? I've been looking at harmony within business.
Sure.
And what I've discovered is that if you have leadership that is disconnected, they don't
Mhm.
believe in the mission, they're just there to make a buck,
Sure.
and they don't care about people, you cannot expect your staff or your workers to believe in the mission either. And so that disconnect, I think business is one of the easiest places you can see it, right? Because if the bosses don't believe it, what is where do you expect your staff to? And so I also run a nonprofit organization where I am very much engaged in the mission of our nonprofit, which is to
Sure.
help people 50 and older have encore careers so that they can stay vibrant and healthy and financially secure.
I love that.
And my staff knows it. Like, they know that I am completely committed to that, um, to the mission, and I think it gives them the space to be committed. And then what we're able to achieve is pretty darn special, because what we produce on the outside comes from a united inner commitment to the mission and to making sure that our customers are satisfied and happy. And
Sure.
then you can't help but be successful then, unless you have a crappy product, right?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But that's probably easier to fix, right? Or
Right.
you know, I'm working on a wedding for one of my children, and
Yeah.
I'm really getting like a real good view of people's customer service ethic, as I'm trying to make all these plans. And
Sure.
when I get someone who I know is into their job, I'm so excited,
Right.
right?
They have a
Because
passion
then
for it.
they're excited.
Yeah.
They have a passion and they're
Yeah.
excited about my
Yeah.
daughter's wedding, and then we're
Right.
laughing and it's getting done. And then there's other people I have to schmooze into being passionate about it, and just but I don't know what it is. I don't understand. And I guess, have I had jobs that I don't like? Probably.
Sure. Yeah. We all have.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes. And so maybe my attitude wasn't the best, but it's very interesting watching people today who are not. I can tell right away when someone is disconnected from
Sure.
their job, because every word that comes out of their mouth, you can hear it. And every delay in sending you an email and short little sentences that don't answer your questions. And then I call them, and then God forbid that, right? I call them.
Right. They're
Be
gonna
easier for
explode.
me.
Why are you
Yeah,
calling
I'm
me?
like,
Yeah.
why are they calling? Right. I'm
Yeah.
like, it would be easier for me to spend 3 minutes with you on the phone than go back and forth in an email 20 times.
Right.
And they're like, okay. And then by the end, they're good. It's off their plate. But again, it's that disconnection. Maybe they don't feel good about themselves, right?
Sure.
And then that goes to work. And so yeah. So in the family, again, who's committed to the family? Like, are both parents got 2 feet
Right.
in their relationship, right?
Right.
That
Right.
has a huge impact on the children,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And so again, are you where you want to be? Right?
Right.
Truly, are you where you want to be? Do you want to be in this relationship? Is it important enough to make it work? I'll be married for 37 years.
I love it.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
we have had so many ups and downs,
Of
right?
course.
Job losses,
Hmm.
family loss, all these different things, medical situations. But the bottom line is that we love each other dearly and we're both committed to the relationship.
I love
And
that.
so who we are on the inner world is reflected in the outer world.
Sure.
And that's required for long term relationships. So, and we do a lot of talking about it, and much maybe to my husband's chagrin, but but we do, because we have to know where the other one is,
Absolutely.
and what's going on. And so, again, I think that helps the family if everyone is committed
Right.
fully.
Fully committed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. That's important.
right.
Also, Robin, what surprised you about mastery, service, and leadership in recovery?
Oh, in recovery.
Yes.
Yes. So, mastery, if we look at the recovery process,
Sure.
awareness is maybe I've hit rock bottom, which I did, which
Okay.
I did. I knew that if I kept doing the bulimia, that
Hmm.
I would have popped a gasket, I think, or something, maybe had a stroke or
Sure.
something like that. So I had this awareness that I needed to come into recovery. Then commitment was, how am I going to do that? Who's going to be my team? Right? And who am I going to bring in from my family, from professional world, my
Sure.
friends? Who's going to become my team of people that I can count on, right? To help me do this. And then the commitment also came, and maybe this is part of the mastery. I realized that beyond learning concepts, that you learn, like in the 12-step program. To me, I interviewed when I wrote my fourth book, which is called Feast and Famine: Healing Addiction with Grace.
Okay.
I interviewed a lot of people that were in long-term recovery from decades,
Sure.
and I wanted to understand what made them be able to stay in long-term recovery. And one of the things that they said is that they were living in a state of congruence. This
Okay.
congruence of mind, body, spirit, and emotion. And that recovery was the integration of all four of those. And so it wasn't just something you talked about,
Sure.
it was something that you developed as a spiritual practice. You went to the gym, you ate well,
Sure.
you went to therapy, right? Mind, body, spirit, emotion, right? You talked about what trauma from your past was impacting you. What are your trauma patterns and how do you heal those? And you sometimes you're very surprised at what was traumatic and what wasn't, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll just give a quick little example. My dad, when we were 6 years old, there were six kids, and we my dad had just washed his car, and somebody put their hand on the car, and
Sure.
my father lined us all up, and we all put our little hands on there, and mine matched the most. And my dad's like, "Well, you're gonna be punished because you put your dirty hand," and I was like, "I did not!"
Right.
And my
Right.
I screamed for hours and hours, "I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it." And I was devastated that my dad, who was so important to me, didn't believe me
Sure.
and called me a liar, right? Or whatever however you want to look at it. But the
Yes.
idea that the person who was the most important to me didn't believe me
Mhm.
um, was devastating to
Yeah.
me. And it
Yeah.
was humiliating, right? And
Sure.
I was judged, right? So that's the earliest time I remember being judged and feeling humiliated and feeling shame. But
Yeah.
would someone else have looked at it that way? I don't know, but that's the mastery because I had to
Absolutely.
dive in and see what was that pattern and how do I heal it? And I will say that these things that need to be healed, these trauma, they come up all the time. You could be just washing dishes and you'll remember something like, oh, remember when my dad said
Right.
I put my hand on the
Yeah.
car.
Right. Right.
Those are part of your trauma pattern and
Yes.
they need to be looked at and you need to put the emotional charge out. And so that's mastery in committing to understanding and living the integration of mind, body, spirit, and emotion so that you can stay in long-term recovery because any one of those can knock you out
Sure.
of recovery. And then service was how do I share this with the world? Like how do I've learned so much and that was writing the book Feast and Famine:
Mhm.
Healing Addiction with Grace, coming on podcasts talking about this. And leadership is am I walking am I the walking example of someone in long-term recovery? Do I know myself? Do I know my pros and my cons? Do I live and try not to judge myself or others? So I'm living in self leadership so that I can be the example. And then the
Mhm.
freedom is this wonderful place where I'm I'm enjoying all the work that I've done in my inner world. And then I'm able to, and I've done a lot of healing and I feel very calm and
Yeah.
peaceful. And then I can exude that
Sure.
in the world because people say that to me all the time. How do you stay so peaceful? And I
Hmm.
want to say, because I've done the work,
Yeah.
right? I've looked at my trauma, I've healed it the best that I can until it comes up again, right?
Of course.
Some other way
Right.
or I just am having a bad day. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect, JV. It's just that I now have skills to be able to cope and to teach
Absolutely.
from a place of
Yeah.
experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Robin, how does harmony redefine success for high functioning, achievement driven people?
Well, I'm going to say high functioning. driven people, they probably don't have time to understand what's going on in their inner world.
And
So
how
they're
is that? Why
very,
is that? Yeah.
because they're so driven on the external world,
Sure. Sure.
right? And so what I want to say to them is, if you were took the time to look internally and find out what are your true values, and where what do you need to heal in your life, and how can you become more solid and more confident internally, so that the confidence and the drive that you have on the inside, on the outside, is in alignment with who you are as a person. Your people who you need to help you be successful in your world will start to really respect you, respect the brand,
Right.
and work harder and help you be even more successful. And then you'll feel better because you're
Yeah.
not uh, having all this anxiety, because you're in personal alignment.
Sure.
Because I imagine that that type of drive creates a lot of anxiety in someone's life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
How did awareness and commitment look in the darkest seasons of someone, for example?
Well, awareness is the first step.
Sure.
And when you are become aware of something in your life that's out of alignment,
Mhm.
that's not fun.
No.
It's never fun
No.
to realize, oh my God, this isn't working, or I'm not the person I thought I was, or you're not the person I thought
Right.
you were, right?
Right.
Awareness, awareness is not for the faint of heart, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Awareness is for someone who's saying, it matters to me that my life is better. And because it matters to me that my life is better, I need to be in awareness so that I can remove the things from my life that are not working, or create capacity to change them,
Sure.
so that you can create the life that you truly want. And the creation of the life you truly want starts with commitment
Sure.
and the devotion to change. Because I think commitment and devotion in the harmony method are synonymous. So when you think of devotion, that's a
Right.
lot more powerful than commitment, right? Commitment to me, for some reason, commitment is like trying,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Like there's no
Yeah.
trying,
Right.
right? If you're
Right.
committed to something, but when you're devoted to
That's
something,
different.
you're not trying, right?
Right.
You're devoted. So I
Right.
I like the word I like the word devotion in the harmony method, because I
Sure. Yeah.
believe that when you're truly saying it matters to me.
Right.
Um, and how do you know if something really matters to you? When you, because you could become aware of something and say, I'm sorry, but that really doesn't matter to me. I
Right.
don't care that you're that way. I accept you for who you are. I remember saying to my daughter when I met my husband, and we all have things that the other might not love about them,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But you got to find the
Right.
things that you really have in common. But there's a lot of things you're like, oh my God, why do they do that?
Right. Of
And
course.
I remember saying to myself, will I be able in 30 years from now? Will I still be like, I don't like that, but I'm okay with it?
Yes.
Well, when we hit our 30th anniversary, I pulled out the list because I wrote them down, and I'm like, oh, look, he's still doing that. And
Right.
I don't like it, but I don't care. Like, there's
Exactly.
so many other things that I love about him that that were way more important to me than these things. And so that's commitment, right? That's devotion. And yes, it's not awareness and commitment are not for the faint of heart. When you become aware of something, you have decisions you need to make,
Absolutely.
right? About your life and
Right.
what you want to do. Now, awareness can be really fun, right? You could be like, wow, I'm aware that it is really important for me to travel to Portugal. Like,
Yes.
there's something I feel connected about Portugal. I want to go there and s- study and, travel. And so then that's fun, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, all right, what do I need to do to get to Portugal? What's the commitment? And the mastery is, how do I save enough money, right? What are the plans
Right.
I'm making?
Right.
Things like that.
Absolutely.
So I think you just can see the harmony method in whatever you're working on so that your life can be more joyful
Yeah.
and more fulfilled.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
Robin, if a listener takes one simple action after hearing
Mm.
this conversation, what would you want it to be?
I would want them to figure out how can they listen to their soul,
Sure.
because it's our soul that's guiding us with the awareness. And so what is it that you can do to get quiet so you can hear your soul whispering to you, to bringing
Yes.
you awareness of changes that you need to make, or that or you can make. I don't think you necessarily need to, because we have free will. You don't
Right.
have to do it. So
Right.
I always want people to so for me, when my children were little, and there was no place for quiet reflection,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
I
course.
would actually wash the dishes at night. I
Yep.
would fill the sink with soap, and I knew nobody was coming to help me. They were too little,
Yeah.
and my husband was helping them with baths, and I could just sit there in the warm soapy water and think about my life, and what do I want to do, and what does my soul want me to know. But there's
Sure.
even a simpler way. That was just how I did it. Every day, have a journal and a
Yeah.
piece of paper. A journal is a piece of paper,
Of course.
and a
Yeah.
pen, and really, I say handwrite it. Use your pen and ask the same question every day for 5 minutes.
Mm.
Write for 5 minutes. What does my
Right.
soul want me to know today? It's a
What does my
very
soul
simple
want me?
exercise.
Yeah.
And once you put that pen close to the paper, it's actually, you'll start writing. Like, because what you don't want to do is really think about it, right? It's not in your
Yeah.
head, it's coming from your heart.
Art. Yeah.
Everything that we know intuitively, our intuition is our soul talking to us.
Yeah.
And so everything that's in our heart is our soul language. And so don't even go into your head like, oh my God, what am I going to write? Is it going to be good? I don't know. What's wrong with
Right.
me? Or, I got to go grocery shopping, right? You want to stay out of there, and you just want to give your soul, your heart, 5 minutes every
Yes.
day to write whatever it wants. And sometimes it'll be profound, and sometimes it'll be, I don't have anything to write. Or I need to call my mother today, right?
Yeah.
But other
Right.
times other times it'll be, return to your meditation practice, right? Call JV, and you'll
Yeah.
be like, okay, because JV must have something to tell me,
Right.
right? Like, it is what it is, but it begins a practice of connection to your heart, which is the portal to your soul.
Right. Right.
Mm.
So, Robin, I always like to end my interviews asking one final question. So, what
Mhm.
final thoughts or message would you like to share with the world?
Yeah, I have this sign on my desk. When someone asks me that, we're so worried about success, right?
Sure.
And
Of
the
course.
harmony method is about success. But my favorite quote is, it's an unknown person who said this, but my favorite quote is, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?
Repeat that one
Think
more time,
about that.
please. Yeah.
What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?
Huh.
Like, then the world becomes your oyster, right? It's
Yes.
actually, it's probably backwards when I do this, but it sits right in front of me. It's a little
I
box.
can
It
read
was
it
a
while you
mug in
attempt
there,
to do
a
what you
mug in
want.
there at some point, but I
Yes.
keep this right in front of me because it allows me to dream big, to be bold, be audacious in what
Yes.
I'm trying to create and say, and be, and again, I told everybody that I'm looking at, there's a little twinge of a lack of commitment that I'm feeling, and I
Sure.
want to understand why, because I am here, you are here, JV, all the listeners are here to fulfill their soul's destiny. And you have to listen, because if you're not listening to your soul, you're not going to know what it is. And
Absolutely.
and if you can listen and know that you can't fail,
Yes.
right? Because failure is subjective. Failure is typically other people are defining it. And if I am proof of anything, it's that I was in addiction for 40 years.
Hmm.
That's a long time. That's 2/3 of my life.
Sure.
And but with the proper commitment, you can move, and knowing that you need the mastery and you're willing to serve, right? How do you
Yeah.
take what you've learned and tell others? How do you walk the walk, right? How
Yes.
do you walk? What does it mean to be someone in recovery? How do you set that example? And then, of course, the freedom, which is the deliciousness of that, who what you see is what you get.
Right.
Who I am here will be the same person I am when I go downstairs and talk to my husband, right?
Sure.
Or call one of my kids, right? It's
Yeah.
it's the same person.
Yeah.
And that's hard to achieve, but it is achievable by
Mm.
doing the work, and getting to truly know your soul and and the impact that it wants to have here, and to live in your genius, right? Like,
Yes.
what are you here to do and how do you accomplish it? And that's what I love to do with clients, and talk about that. What is it that you're really truly here to do? And in your Akashic Harmony message, it was very clear you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
You just have to be patient with yourself. There was
Yeah.
one more thing that really, you had questioned, and I'm looking at it, hold on. You had a feeling that sometimes you're lost, right?
Yes.
Being
Yes.
lost at times. And I love in the message, it said, it often appears the feeling of being lost at times is not a sign that you are off track. It often appears when you are in between versions of clarity. That's very profound, right? Like,
I love it.
we're just
Yes.
we're moving from one point of clarity to the next. Or I
Yes.
used to say we're moving from one present moment to the next present moment. So even if something not wonderful is happening in this present moment, you're just one present moment away from the opportunity for things to be better.
Yes.
And that's really, if you can see it that way, that this is just happening right now, but in one moment from now, life can be better if I choose that to be my attitude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Robin, you've been awesome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
JV.
And
Thank you for sharing the judgment journey with me. And
absolutely, thank
we're gonna
you.
do
I
well.
appreciate you.
Yes,
And
and
if
everybody else that struggles with that.
right.
Yeah.
And if you're watching on YouTube or listening to this podcast, please review the episode description of where to find Robin. I will be
Mhm.
posting her website, her books, everything about Robin will be posted. Again,
Thank
Robin,
you.
thank you for your time. I truly, truly
Mhm.
appreciate it. And I can't wait to have another interview with you. Take
Yes,
care.
thank you, JV. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Before I go, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for pressing play. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. I truly appreciate you taking the time to be here with me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other platform, follow the podcast so you don't miss out on the next episode. Because we're going to keep having real, honest conversations like this. And remember, your influence grows every time you choose courage over comfort. I'm JV. Stay curious, stay consistent, and keep influencing others. Peace out.